Well, good morning. It is delightful to see so many folks turn out this morning. This is just terrific. I want to welcome everybody to this seminar, this meeting, this Coffee Connection that talks about one of our important assets, our lagoons. And, of course, welcome you that are here and those that will be watching us over the streaming device. And really want to thank the owners that are here to learn about these lagoons and how we maintain them. And as owners, the stewardship that we have a responsibility for in terms of these lagoons. Well, we've got a lot to cover over the next couple of hours. But I want to begin by, more donuts. We're bringing in lunch as well. But I really do want to begin by thanking Sermon Hollabaugh was really a valued member of the Community Services and Security Committee who's invested just countless hours of his expertise to put Long Cove on a pathway to cost effectively but appropriately manage and maintain our lagoons. And of course, also want to thank Harold Sauls, who understands the importance of our lagoons and what proactive measures are required to effectively manage and maintain them, and has been an indispensable part of our team. So I'm Roy Bowen. I have the honor of chairing the Community Services and Security Committee and serving as Vice President of the club. So I think it's always good to start these connections with a look at our mission and vision statements. This guides everything that we do as a board, as a committee, and really what we should be doing as owners. So it's always good just to reflect on this just for a moment or two. Our objective today is to bring an understanding of the value of the lagoons to the ownership in terms of the aesthetics of our community and their importance to the golf course, and ultimately to gain your support of an upcoming referendum that will allow the club to embark on a multi-year referendum to ensure the integrity of our lagoons. This is our agenda. I'll be calling on Sermon in a moment. Then we've got Rusty Beatty here from Zulu Marine, and we'll talk about the referendum, but there'll be ample time for questions and answers at the conclusion of the presentation. So with that, I'd like to call on our lagoon expert from the committee, Sermon Hollabaugh.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Sermon Hollabaugh. We're here to discuss the importance of our lagoons and what they bring a value to the community, what they serve, how they function. We're going to see if we can show you that where all the culverts go, how the water flows. We're just going to give you a good working knowledge of this. So here we go. What we've done to maintain our lagoons, besides the beauty, we have fishing opportunities, we provide a wildlife habitat. We also use our lagoons for irrigation for our golf course. And probably as important as that is, we also use the lagoons for flood control during tropical storms and hurricanes. And that's really important because we don't want to be flooding with 20 inches of rain during a hurricane. So I'm going to run you through some, an hour or two of lagoon facts, I guess. There's a lot of data that we've achieved looking at this. How do we know more about our lagoons today than we did 2 years ago, 6 months ago? Well, in 2023, we commissioned Zulu Marine to come in and fly a drone over every lagoon in Long Cove. So we have 4,588 pictures of all the lagoon banks, and I've probably seen most of them. These drone images revealed many areas of concern due to shoreline erosion and bank undercutting that we didn't know existed in some of our lagoons. Because, most of the pictures that we see will look like that. So what I would do was, this is one lagoon here, and this is hole number 2. So you can see where Zulu has come in and recommended that we have some bank erosion and undercutting over here. So this is a picture of what the drone would give me bank-wise, and this is a ortho view satellite type imagery of this, and we have 4,588 of those. So it's not like we have very good data to make these decisions that we're making. Okay, so this is just kind of a slide that shows you our existing lagoons. The marina is sitting right here. The clubhouse is right here. And we have 26 culverts that interconnect all our lagoons in yellow. Most of you probably didn't know there's a culvert running under the 15th fairway that connects the 2 lagoons here. So these are very important to keep our water flowing in a 2-way system. We only have one mechanical pump that pumps water from these lagoons there, but we'll get into that later. But we need to keep these culverts functioning and operational and not full of mud and silt. Because if they stop up, then we don't have connectivity and our water won't drain during crisis. And so that's why those culverts are important. But most people probably don't even know where they are, that they exist. So we also have our main outfall, which drains all our lagoons into Broad Creek. The main outfall is sitting over here. Loomis Ferry is over there. There's the marina. The main outfall sits right in here. This is Broad Creek. This is Loomis Ferry, Long Cove Drive, for your reference. And this is Lagoon 12, Turn Bridge right there. So our main outfall, which is sitting right there, this little dam right here, and here's Broad Creek. When the tide is down, low tide, these flapper valves will open and water drains out of this lagoon into Broad Creek, which drains from here all the way to the marina. So with these interconnected culverts, water flows toward the marina at all times. And so without this, we wouldn't be able to lower our levels on the lagoons for hurricanes. So, and transfer water back and forth. Okay. So we have 71,300 linear feet or 14 miles of lagoon bank, 198 football fields of lagoon bank. That's a lot. So we need to make sure we maintain those erosional banks. We can hold 127,822,000 gallons of water over 41 acres. That's our storage capacity. That's important because irrigation for the golf course, especially if we had a dry season, we will need that volume. That's 193 Olympic-sized swimming pools, if everybody knows how big those are. So a lot of water. So our average lagoon depth is only 4.85 feet. So there's some lagoons like right here outside, they're 6 or 8 foot, but the average depth is 4.85. We love pine straw in Long Cove, but pine straw fills up our lagoons. So what we're doing right now currently, and we've been doing this for years, we are adding the aeration devices. You've probably seen them off hole number 5 if you play golf. That's for help with our algae control. We also trim trees along banks, and we do water quality testing as needed. Our water is pretty good, so we haven't had a need for that lately, and we haven't spent the money to do that. We also need to remind our yard maintenance people that to not blow clippings, pine straw, anything else in the lagoon. So as owners, we could always remind them to be good stewards for our lagoons and not just blow their clippings in there, because it just makes our lagoons shallower. And uglier, as we see. Okay, we also have fishing, and thanks to our model, Mark Prater there. We have, I would have shown a bigger fish myself, but we have freshwater and saltwater fish. Here's our freshwater, largemouth, smallmouth, carp, bluegill. We have some mullets, saltwater fish, redfish, tarpon. So that's about all I know about the fishing. That's why Mark's on there. But the closer you get to the marina in Broad Creek, the more brackish the water gets. So that's why you see the redfish and mullets. Like in Lagoon 12, we have a ton of mullets over there. We do have birds. We didn't identify all the birds, but we do have birds. And they're an important part of the habitat. So they like clean water. We do have gators. They like any kind of water. Okay. So let's get into this golf course irrigation, where our water comes from. The clubhouse is sitting over here. This is hole number 2 for golfers. This is hole number 6, 7, 8 as a reference. The blue color and the blue numbers, these are our Tier 1 primary sources of fresh water for our lagoons. So all our water for irrigation comes out of these lagoons right there. The new pump house that we built for the new water sits right over here. So there's the new pump house. So all these lagoons are interconnected by these culverts to keep water flowing from here, through here, down here, through here, down there to the new pump house. If these culverts fail and we don't properly maintain them, we won't have that water flow. And this is not a huge pond over here. So we need to keep that. But we refer those as Tier 1. But these blue is where the irrigation for the lagoons come from and the golf course. Okay. The Tier 2 lagoons are the ones in pink, 6, 13, 14. These are what we call Tier 2. You can see the culverts, the interconnectivity between the lagoons. We can also pump mechanically. This is our only mechanical pump. We can pump from the Tier 2 lagoons when we have a water shortage into the Tier 1 lagoons. The pump is located about right in here. The pump's right in here. If you're ever going down Long Cove Drive, and if you kind of know where Bob Curry lives, across the street from Bob's, these 2 big cinder blocks with a pipe. If water's running out of those pipes, we're pumping from the Tier 2 lagoons to the Tier 1 lagoons. So that's why you see why that water's running sometime. It doesn't run all the time, but it runs a lot. Yeah. So that's because this is mechanically pumping. These are pretty fresh water also. But that's the Tier 2 lagoon system. The good news is we spent a lot of money on irrigation system. And not only is that providing us with better coverage of our golf course, but the water savings is unbelievable. We use now 270,000 gallons of water on a full run golf course irrigation. We used to use 350,000 gallons. That's a lot of water. That's a savings of 22.8% in water usage. That's pretty good. Our irrigation system now will much more efficiently and effective water it. Our coverage is great. Therefore, we're saving all this water. That's only on full runs. Our average daily volume right now, Ashley is still working on that to get numbers on that, but because he's still learning the system, but they've been really good. Okay, so here's the Tier 1 lagoons again in blue. And this is the purpose of them: golf course irrigation, water, and storage statics. Okay, how are these lagoons sourced? Rainfall and runoff. We can't pump into them. We could buy water from the city, but we don't want to do that. So that's why we need to keep as the lagoons as deep as possible by being good stewards and helping these lagoons maintain very good nutrition. The Tier 2 lagoons, again, the purpose of those, irrigation, storage, aesthetics, rainfall, runoff, excess water for Tier 1. The Tier 3 lagoons, the ones in kind of orangey, pinky back here, they're for water storage only. Aesthetics, emergency flooding. This is where we store a lot of water during flooding because the main outfall is right here. So all these culverts need to be interconnected so we don't flood this lagoon because it's connected here under 15 and it all flows. All these lagoons flow this way to the outfall, and that's our main outfall. Okay, in 2021, Bill McLaughlin, Doug Essler, Frank Russo, Bo Steady were an ad hoc committee, and they consulted with Blackwater Civil Engineering to do a water study and map all the lagoons for depth. So we went in there and reviewed this data along with the Zulu, and we determined that our overall water quality for our lagoons is very good. Our organic runoff contamination is not of concern. That was in August of 2021. So we don't have a lot of runoff and debris going in that. But the main thing that he came up with, we need to address bank erosion and lagoon depth. So when I got on the committee, we saw this, and under Roy's guidance, we started addressing this and finding out what we had. And really the only data we had was what I call my cheat sheet, Harold Saul's. Harold provides a lot of data. He had a lot of data, but we just really couldn't see what the lagoon looks like. So that's why we ordered the drone. So what are we going to do from here? Well, the plan is we're going to start on what we call Lagoon 14. You'll know it as, this is hole 1 right here. This is number 2. Zulu has come in here and put these maps together, and they've defined these as Cat 4, Cat 3, Cat 1, and 2. We are only right at this point in time concerned about the Cat 4 erosion. That's where the banks are severely eroded or undercut or even collapsing. So Zulu came up here and we've kind of determined that this red line is all Cat 4 erosion. So we're going to start right up here, and I'll show you some pictures of that. But this was done with Zulu, with the photographs, with Harold, Roy, all of us combined. Okay, whoops. Okay, so this is Lagoon 14 up there off of number 2. And you can see how the bank is severely sloped, and you can see the dark shadow right in there where their water is actually up under there. I didn't know, Rusty, if you measured how deep that was. I didn't get in the water to stick my hand in there. Yeah, 2 and 4 feet of undercut in that one bank. So this bank needs to be fixed. Here's a picture of how these banks are collapsing and eroding. You can see the erosion coming in here and there. And you can see how this bank is starting to collapse also. Must have been done on a Monday or Tuesday with the trash. But you can see how these banks are starting to collapse because of undercutting. There's undercutting all in there. So these are the kind of pictures that we look at. And when you're playing golf or walking on the golf course, you can just look over there and you can see that point over there, 2 tee boxes sitting right over here. You can see this point and you'll just notice the shadow under there, and that's the undercutting, and 2 to 4 feet, the water's up under there. So that's a concern. We see pictures like this in the drone images all over the place. So back in 2023, we commissioned Zulu to come in and do a test theory to see if this was, one, appropriate for Long Cove and cost effective, and would it solve our problem. So this is a lagoon off of Strawberry Hill and Turnbridge, and you can see how severely eroded and undercut this bank is, and this is all fill right here from all that coming in there. So Rusty and them came in here and they started this sock project technology, and Rusty's going to come talk to you about that in a minute. And so this is the before picture, and that's the after picture. So you can see how the technology, you can see where we stopped, and you can see how nice that looks now. So according to Zulu, these are 20, 30-year life.
Well, I mean, it could go beyond that, but right now that's the length of the project.
Yep.
30 years and still holding strong.
Yeah, so we get pretty good longevity out of this. So it's really nice to, have something that looks like that. And so you can see that we've also done it. We did 3 off a retreat, and we did it off of Long Cove Drive in Combahee. So those are the test socks. So when you go over there and you're driving down Long Cove Drive, if the bank looks like that, that's one of the places we did the sock. So if you're driving toward the marina from the front gate, just look on the left before you get to Combahee, and you'll see how nice that bank looks. And it's been resodded, and they look great. So I'm going to bring Rusty up here and let him go through the sock technology, let him explain how they install it, and I think he's maybe got a video or two of showing you how to do that. And then we'll take some questions and answers. And Zulu's been great to work with, and we look for a long-term relationship with them. So thank you very much.
Okay, hello again. I'm Rusty Beatty with Zulu Marine Services. We appreciate Long Cove and the opportunity to come out and give the full assessment and do the test site and all that. It's been great, and I think I passed out some of our marketing literature the last time I was here, and actually the Long Cove is on our cover. So that number 16 is a really good sample of what we've done. So I thought the first thing we would do is I've got a little video from our partner Socks, and it kind of just walks through an animation of what that actually looks like. So I think we're okay, yeah. But yeah, we came out the other day and just walked through, and I did want to make one correction. His sermon is that I thought you meant the water depth, like deep right there. So it's not an actual 2 to 4 foot undercut. It's 2 to 4 feet depth, and it's about anywhere from 12 to 18 inches in a lot of places it's in there pretty good. So, yep. And then the other thing we did on that, there you go. That's okay. No, I'll let you go ahead and crank it up. So one of the cool things that I like about the SOX product, and we do a lot of erosion control in saltwater environments and high energy environments using different materials, but about 5 years ago, we got into what's termed living shorelines, so nature-based solutions. And one of the nice things about it is on that same hole, 14, if you'll look at one area, there's one home that has a pine tree out there, and I think it's a pine, but anyway, he's got like a bulkhead down there at the bottom that was a man-made bulkhead, and you can clearly see over time it's fallen to pieces, because what happens is the upland runoff starts to get behind it, it dilapidates, and then once it starts coming, like, it's usually over. Like, it's not usually about a couple years before it falls in. So one of the nice things about nature-based solutions and living shorelines is that I always say it works with Mother Nature, so it gets better over time as opposed to worse over time. So you get all the root structures that take hold. The other kind of cool thing about this particular product, the SOX, is that, and I've got a couple of pictures that will show you of sort of an area that looks like those trees that we showed you on 14 that stick out, and it's neat because you can take the product and you can stake it wherever you want. So we can stake it up around those trees, and then we can bring the bottom up, and sometimes we'll bring it all the way to like what we call like a taco, and then sometimes we'll stage it down where it's more like a candy cane shape, sort of, you know what I mean? So you can just decide however you want it, and then from that we can use different size products to make sure it's nice looking all the way around. So sometimes we might need what's called an 18-foot SOX, where we'll fold it over to become basically 9 feet, with all the fill in it. And sometimes we only need 12 feet SOX. There's also a 6-foot version, but we wouldn't use 6s on any of these. They're too aggressive. So kind of that's where we're at on those, and that's why we've chosen this particular product here, is because it really does make for that nice soft edge. Because we dug out so much and replaced those culverts on 16 and the other areas, we did use a 24-foot there, but that because we had to get really deep on those. And there's a chance that we may go on in the inside of these coves on 14, and we might choose to use one 24-foot there and then blend the other 18s to 12s and those things. So we've tried to price it appropriately. I tell you what, while you're, if you want to, before I go into the my PowerPoint, if you want to bring up those other images that I had on there, we can look at those real quick. I'll show you a couple of the other SOX jobs that have up on the bank around the trees. And yeah, one thing we did was kind of pare down our presentation, because we realized that you guys had touched on some of the reasons for keeping your ponds and lagoons stable and clean. You can go to the just start at the anything that says pre right there. Yep, let's look at that one. So this was one of the areas where it was super aggressive, as you can see. So what you do is you put all your stakes in properly, and then up top around there you can sod, but you can also Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah. So this obviously this is just the setup right here, and this was really aggressive. Obviously, you don't have anything that looks quite like that, but on this you can plant in any way you want to. This is what we call a bull nose down here, and the idea with you guys is you don't want to see that, so we've dropped the bottom. Your water levels are up around here, so we drop the bottom low enough where you never see that, and we plant either the sod up here or muley, sweetgrass, or pampas, anything that grows out and sort of covers that, and then some pine straw around it. So we've taken into consideration the areas that we would do that as opposed to just straight sod. Okay, if you'll go to the next one. You can go, yeah. So that was just another one that's not quite as aggressive, and now there's one that's called Post on that. Same file name. No. should be one more. Try trees. Yeah, so there you go. So that's what more of what kind of that will look like. But the waters will come up and we'll be able to actually cover. You won't see any of that bullnose. That's a much larger bullnose. So it'll be really pretty. And then like for on that bulkhead area, we didn't include that necessarily in this project, but as we're going over there, if you guys decide, hey, well, while we're here, let's go ahead and do, and I think it's like a 12-foot face on the bulkhead. So what we would do on that is we wouldn't necessarily use the SOX product there, but there's one called mechanically stabilized earth, which is a Filtrex, and basically it's sort of, think of it as sandbags, but they're got the perfect soil composition in them, and they're basically encapsulated soil lifts. And what you do is you take it and you stack the first row along, and then you backfill to that, and we have a compactor, and you compact the earth. And then you put the next row, and they're anchored in, and you put the next row like this way, 3 inches back, and you fill dirt down to it, and then you compact that, and then you put the next one. So we're basically building a nature-based bulkhead, but it's on a nice slope, and then we can plant all over that. So for that small area, we would look at doing a kind of a hybrid type solution. All right, I think we can fire up the PowerPoint. And again, once we looked at these, and there was a lot of overlap on some of what the ponds were for. So I want to talk to you just really about where we identified, what we feel like is the right solution, and then you guys have the pricing and stuff. So I didn't put that on here. Okay, you can I can advance with the green. All right, so again, this is your actual lagoon there. And then, so the reason, again, we'll just super quickly go through these. Stormwater management, obviously, especially when big storms come through, we've seen a lot of the areas around other POAs that, man, they're just so backed up, and the edges are so bad that it's really encroaching into owners' yards. So the idea is we want to try to deepen these as we do it, so you get kind of a 2-for-1 bang for your buck. Most of our competition around the southeast brings in fill dirt. So you're not, they don't want to do the dredging at one time, so you're actually having to do a dredge project separately than what we do. And our company has a full dredge division. So got really smart guys that do projects all the way from really big ones down to, these type of projects. All right, so obviously wildlife habitats. It makes a nice little bank for the gators to crawl up onto. Outdoor spaces, fishing, kayaking, walking. One of the things that we've done, and we're looking at doing in some areas like Palmetto Dunes and some other ones, is they've got their golf cart paths and walking paths and bike paths that go really, really close. Like they're getting ready to be undermined. And the other thing is some of these gators get up right next to those areas, and the bikers don't want to get that close to them. So we're providing some additional real estate as well. Hence, obviously, overall property values. A healthy waterway system is always a good thing. Aesthetics and aiding in sustainability. One of the things that wasn't on that slide is that it's pretty important is as you're looking at all of your lagoon maintenance with your water quality and the algae and those kind of things. One thing that happens with these banks that keep dropping soil in is that you're nutrient overloading, and that causes these algae blooms and all those things. It really contributes quite a bit to it. So with these encapsulated soils, you're not, that pretty well goes away. We're ending the erosion in those areas. Okay. So again, this is the area that we're going to be looking at. We helped, I guess, identify or show with the drone footage and the pictures, and we do what's called an orthomosaic, where you can actually take measurables and things from it. So we've got some AI technology that can actually go along, and once we did, all of the waterways, it will say, hey, if there's a 2-to-1 slope here, we need to know if it's 1-to-1 here, and it will go through and kind of help identify so that then we can then go and take a look at those specific areas and make the recommendations. And then, like, I came out a couple of days ago with Roy and Sermon, and we actually walked some areas, and we took a basic little collecting tool and kind of prodded around and got to understand what that looks like on the bottom. Because one of the things you have to do is we have to have good material to be able to fill. And one of the things we did on the last project is we brought in our amphibious excavator into one of these coves, and we did what we call demucking. So a lot of that's organic material collection. It just, the leaves and the sticks, they all get pushed in to these corners. So we brought our amphibious over, and we, burrowed it out and got that out of there. And then we were able to bring an excavator over and get the really good material, and we took it over for dewatering over at your maintenance facility. And then actually, once we were doing some of the dredging, some areas we needed some other kind of fill, and we were able to use that dewatered material because it was good material. So that helped save money as well. That was on the left over there. That's the bulkhead that I was talking about. And again, we would eventually, or whenever you guys decided, we would basically tear that out and rebuild it with a nature-based solution that's going to grow in with Mother Nature over time rather than continue to do that. And then over here on the right is just an area of this is what pretty much we're looking like. So what we're going to do on these is we would bring in either a small skid steer or even just a root machine, and we would knock that edge off. We would take that all the way down and do a slight little grade right there, so that, we can wrap around it. The sock can be staked underneath, and then we wrap the top end around and stake it up. But you don't want to create any soft pockets under there, so we want to make a nice little grade and then be able to come in afterwards. And with the dredge material, and the dredge will go right in. And I'm going to show you pictures of that in just a minute. So again, we've been doing nature-based solutions all along in the southeast, a lot in Georgia, and our company just helped write with the DNR the living shoreline standards for the Georgia DNR in Georgia, and we just finished that project recently. And one of the things you'll hear, and I'm not going to harp on this too long, but North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida all consider living shorelines something different. So when in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida, a lot of what they like to do, and we're doing one of these in Georgetown, South Carolina right now, is we go out, say 100 yards off of a beach area or whatever, and we build. Right now we're doing one where we're driving pilings, and then every 10 feet, and we're putting bundled, they call them wattle sticks. They're just basically bundles of sticks, and we're building a fence out there all the way along. And behind that go oyster gabions, which are almost like, if you think about like crab traps that are ready to, they plant some oysters around, and that will grow oysters behind it. But the idea is that the marsh grasses and things will fill in back behind it and come all the way out. So we're actually gaining ground that way. But in Georgia, most of what we do is fortified structure. There's got to be some kind of armoring of the bank. And that's where we do a product called Fleximat and or like a socks material. But the socks have been really good in areas like lagoons and things that don't have a ton of energy in the water. So again, they continue to just grow in and get better over time. We have purpose-built equipment. I'm sure you have seen when we were over here before, like with the amphibious excavator. We've got another piece I'll show you in a minute. We've got airboats and things like that to get to specific areas. We're probably not going to drop an airboat in here, though, more than likely. We use the dredge material from the ponds, which means you don't have to buy the fill dirt, and you're also, like I said, you're getting that bang for your buck where we're actually deepening for stormwater runoff and armoring the banks with the native soil. And then again, we have a dedicated dredge. Most of our competitors, if they, like sometimes you'll be in an area where there's houses all along, you can't get fill material back there easily and then get it to wash in because you're in people's yards. So that's when we set it up where we dredge, and we have, you know, hundreds of feet, thousands of feet really of dredge pipe that we can just bring in and keep filling as we're doing it. And we're a local, low country business. So on the left here, this is kind of a, my engineering team actually put that together to do this project, and it's basically got just an agitator pump on the bottom and then suction pumps. So we were sort of, you would stir it up and almost blast a hole, and then you're taking that material and putting it into the sock. So we're pumping it along, and it basically fills it by section. This machine over here is called a truck saw, and it's so we can demuck just like that. I think that was actually in Palmetto Dunes. So you can demuck with it. Whoops, let me go back. With that, you know, with that attachment, and then it's got another attachment that actually goes down, and it's an auger dredge, so it actually, you know, spins around and chews up the dirt. So what we try to do is get the top material off first, the organic material. You don't want to really put too much of that in the socks because it will eventually kind of deteriorate, you know, but the material that we put in there is fantastic. And so this stuff basically acts like a big silt fence. When you put it all in there, it compacts. And then I don't know if any of you have walked on the area over on 16, but it's like you're walking on real, like firm ground. And these guys drive the mowers over it. So it's a really solid product. And there it is again. This is just same thing, the before and after. Same one y'all saw before. So here we are on we took this as an orthomosaic, and then we're able to, okay, he did put the pricing on this piece. So we've got up here, whoops, I keep doing the wrong thing. Up here, all of these are going to be where the culverts go, and we put in 30-inch culvert extensions. So what we'll do is we'll excavate those areas all the way down to the culvert, and then while we're down there, we will blast them out with our power pumps. So we'll make sure that we, you know, blow it out on each side so we're getting good water flow. And then the other thing is from right here, wherever we dredge right there, we're going to try to put a channel all the way out so that when this does come out, it's not as likely to get jammed up, because you were having a nice deep area around there. So that's the other benefit. And as I was walking around the other day, we were looking at some areas that we thought we could put some of the 12-foot socks over there, and that shows where we would put 12-foot. Now, originally when I walked it, I thought there was going to be more areas where we could do 12 feet, but after we got back in-house and really discussed it, it's probably mostly going to be 18, because we want to have that extra material to be able to drop it a little deeper if we need to, and bring it all the way up on some of these trees where we need to. So it's better to have the little bit extra than not have enough of this, because we want to make sure that we're securing it properly and getting all the area for the sod. This area right here is the primary area around this point where I was talking about doing the like the muley grasses and the straw, just making it look really nice. So wherever we've got current root systems coming out on points, that's where we'll do probably more planting than sod. But the total amount of sod, I believe, was 10,000 square feet overall of the sod is about what we came up with. And then again, these are going to be the primary dredge areas, but once we get down up here, we will also be dredging from out here as needed for the fill material, because we want to try to use as absolute much dredge material and get that more, like I said, the bang for your buck by deepening these ponds as well. So, and then again, the culverts will be done. We'll have a excavator over there. We'll excavate down to them, and then we'll flush them out, and then put the extension on it, and then put the sock on top of that, and everything will be running out underneath. The one thing we'll do on over here, you've got a 15-inch that basically comes from the street as a stormwater, as an angle, and it's exposed right now. It's easy to see. And what we can do, the other nice thing of the socks is that we can cut anything around it. So we'll just put that right out on top and have it continue to run, and it won't cause any problems. So, any questions on this particular? Okay, yep. And I mean, really, like I said, we had a lot of redundancy built in, so I pared this down to make it super simple, and then I thought we'd leave plenty of time to really go through this and make it kind of interactive, and I can go back and forth through this, but I'll leave this slide up right now, and then we can kind of open up to any questions. Okay. Yep.
Well, thanks, Rusty. We're going to have questions in just a minute. We have one more little area to get through. But great presentation. I think everybody's got a much better understanding now of what we're talking about and really the need to do what we're proposing. Well, first of all, I just want to comment a bit on the process, because what you're hearing today is really the culmination of several years of work that involved really a meaningful number of our fellow owners, club management, and consultants. The Lagoon Committee that Sermon referred to earlier under the leadership of Bill McLaughlin really was the genesis for much of this. The commitment of the board really at the direction of the ownership to address maintenance of existing infrastructure and amenities ahead of investing in new amenities. The work of the Long Range Planning Committee, chaired by Randy Rose, that developed really the 5-year master facilities plan that emphasized maintenance of existing facilities, including specifically the lagoons. The work of the Finance Committee, chaired by Doug Wetmore, to develop a financial plan to support the work of the Long Range Planning Committee and plan around the funding identified by the Capital Reserve Study to maintain and replace the club's assets in a timely way. The work of the Community Services and Security Committee to develop the maintenance priorities across the club and to provide expertise across multiple tasks involved from project inception through completion. The ARB to ensure consistency with its guidelines. The engagement of the club's management, including Mario and Harold and Lindsay and Ashley, to ensure that the project was well designed and would be executed within budget and on time. The engagement of a project manager to assist with the bid documents and vetting of the contractor and project oversight. Jen Goodstein's engagement to prepare the referendum, and Lindsay Figner's expertise in helping to communicate the facts and requests for approval from the owners. And really, ultimately, you as the owners to assess the quality of the work and the need that supports the request for approval of the referendum. So, this request will be for the first 2 years of this multi-year project and is expected to be fully funded, and that's very important, to be fully funded by the capital maintenance assessment that the ownership approved earlier this year. And then subsequent referendums seeking owner approval of the continuing lagoon restoration and erosion mitigation project for 2-year periods every other year. And then finally, per the Long Cove covenants, any project requiring spending in excess of $150,000 must be approved by the ownership. So we hope to have the referendum prepared and out to the membership during the first week in October, with the vote closing on or after October 21st. And that would provide Zulu Marine the opportunity to commence work, assuming ownership approval, in late November, early December, with the commitment that it's going to be finished well ahead of the DRI. And then, as I said, subsequent referendum seeking approval of continuing lagoon restoration mitigation would occur every other year. So with that, we've got our experts here to answer your questions, Rusty, Sermon, and myself, and Harold. So please, we'll open the floor now for questions. And if you have questions, please come to the microphone and state your name. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm Phil Jones. I've been a member here for a long time. Too close. There's a high variation in the appearance of the lagoons, from aesthetically pleasing to very unsightly. Is this project going to correct the unsightly areas?
Yes, sir. The objectives are, number one, we're looking at lagoons where aesthetics is a real issue, with another priority being the lagoons which we need to maintain to ensure the integrity of our golf course irrigation system. So yes, sir. As you can see from the before and after pictures, there's vast improvements in the residents-facing portions of the lagoons. We're not touching the golf course banks, just the residents facing.
Okay, the area that I'm referring to is as unsightly as any lagoon area, and it's the end of Combi where the cul-de-sac is. The opposite end is very nice and aesthetically pleasing, but the end I'm talking about that's so unsightly is a dead end. There's no aeration, and the wind blows the debris to the end. Is there something that can be done about that?
Rusty, yeah, I want to take that.
Is this on? Yeah. So one of the things that that we were asked to do is help identify the areas that definitely need the attention. Critical infrastructure, meaning the roads and those kind of things, were obviously a number one priority with high erosion. But there are also those little coves around, and I know those are on the priority list because that's where you do need to do that demucking first. You need to get all that organic material out, and then depending on the level of actual erosion on the side, those are what we've talked about as being priority for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you help an area that's a dead end?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Have you seen that lagoon area at the end of Combi?
Personally, I probably haven't on pictures. Then like you said, we've got 4,500 pictures. We've got every single lagoon. And the drone doesn't. He does just fly around and take what we call oblique imagery, which is from the side, and so you can really see the erosion. But we also take an overall image of like all the way around, and then the software stitches it all together and makes an orthomosaic. So, and that's where I was saying that the artificial intelligence helps primarily identify some of those. And so we were focusing on 16 right now. 14 based on, I guess, the last meetings where you guys had and said, hey, we want to look at 14. So that's where we've really looked at. But absolutely we can, pull up any of these lagoons at any time and look through them. And I'll take a special note to take a look at that one.
Okay.
Do you know which lagoon number that is?
I do not, but it's the one at one end. You did the bank.
Okay.
At the Long Cove drive-in of
Okay.
Combi Road. At
Yeah.
the opposite end, there's the cul-de-sac, and it is a very unsightly lagoon.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen the pictures of that, and we are addressing that.
Okay, thank you.
It will. We're trying to demuck that. Like if you're walking from 4 to 5 there, that's kind of nasty all the time too. So they're not immediate priorities, but they will be in the system.
Okay.
Yep.
There's no electricity apparently at that end for aeration,
That's correct.
but could that be put in, or whatever needs to be done to address it?
Harold, do we have any source down there?
I got to get with Palmetto Electric.
Okay. Palmetto Electric has stations all over Lone Cove Drive, but due to terrorism, they will not tell us where they are. So we kind of have to call them. They'll come out and look at it, and we could, Harold's probably contacting them, and we'll find out if there's an electrical source around there.
Okay, thank you.
There's other options, but they're not good options, like, separate metering on houses, but that creates a problem.
Okay,
So we've looked at that also.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Frank?
My name is Frank Russo, and this is really gratifying, Roy. I was chairing the Community Services Committee on my last go-around on the board, and we recommended this type of work, and that was 12 years ago. And we brought in an engineering firm. We did the studies. Hal will remember this, and it just dissipated over time, because what we have is a problem with continuity in this community. The board changes every 3 years. I think it's critically important that this be brought up to the membership frequently. And I hope you'll do this, but I think that this is really an excellent start. Are we getting cooperation from the Office of Coastal Management? OCRM?
Yeah, so we haven't had to do much with them so far because this is not work that has to be permitted typically, other than like the town has come and give a blessing. We do work very closely with the Georgia DNR, and we've got some projects going with like the Nature Conservancy and DHEC and some of the others right now. So I was a little disappointed in that I tried to reach out to them to have somebody come over today, and I just have had a hard time getting that kind of support, but we're working on it.
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing that I've noticed is, and we went through this years ago, it's an egregious problem. We have multitude of landscapers in here, and frankly, they have there's no inhibition for them to go and blow the leaves and the pine straw and so on into the lagoons. It creates a real problem. And I think we need to put together some sort of a program you can't ask all the members to do it. I think we need to deal with the landscapers, and when they are causing a problem, we got to make it their problem. Thank you.
Frank, you can expect that the Community Services Committee is on top of that, and we'll be bringing a proposed rule change policy to deal with the landscapers as well. And to your point, in terms of continuity, one of the things I think those of you who are familiar with the strategic 5-year plan, that's a living, breathing plan that is going to be added to every year. And we plan on having the funding for lagoon maintenance as part of that rolling 5-year plan for multi-years. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'm Kathy Sayaloalo. I've lived here a long, long time. I live on Delta, and we have a berm at the end of Delta, between Delta and Loomis Ferry, and it's compromised. And the salt water came in this week for the king tide, but every year it gets less and lower on the one side. So I don't know, we're addressing the banks, but the berms are a big deal. And I haven't heard anything about the berms.
First, we've heard that water's coming over the berm. I didn't know if Harold, were you aware of that, or
It only happens when we have the real.
super king tides?
But every year it's a less of a tide. It started out like 9/8. This Tuesday at 9/4, 9/2 it's coming over. So it's only one corner of the berm that the erosion is happening, but it is happening. So,
Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
look,
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'll actually look at all the imagery, and we'll see if we actually have that in any of the
I think we had that in imagery. Yeah, I think I've seen that burn back there. Scott?
I'm Scott Mullaney. Quick question. I know our roads and the water from rain drains into the pond, but also there's a heck of a lot of pine straw and other stuff. Can you talk about the interconnectedness between the road system and the lagoons? And I'm assuming the new drains that we're putting in the roads is going to help, but I don't know very much about that.
So the runoff from rainfall does go the old system, the old drains that we have now. Everything that's on the road goes into a lagoon, no matter where it is. Rubber, gravel, pine straw, tree branches, whatever will flow through that culvert will go in there. So I don't know if everybody's seen that. We have started fixing that, and this is part of, our lagoon health. Basically, is the new drains are going to be set back. They're going to be flat. They're going to have grates over them. So I'm not going to say not all of the debris, but a good majority of the debris that's going into the lagoons now will cease to do that. So I think with Mario, we're working on making sure those are cleaned off. I wish we had a picture. I have a picture on my phone, but I don't think you can put it up. Yeah, there's two of them on Long Cove. They're all set on the road. So instead of just having a direct path of rainwater, whatever's in the gutter going right into the lagoons will now sit on top of that. And the big stuff won't go. So that should be managed but much better. And it will help with our culvert system. Does that answer your question?
Nice job, sir.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Roy, what does
Yeah.
SOX stand for?
Pardon me?
What does SOX stand for?
Soil, it sucks. To be honest, full transparency is we hired a guy, Jamie King, who you guys have met from the Georgia DNR, worked for us for 4 years. I'm the owner of the company. I do wear a lot of different hats and run around, and we do disaster response and all kind of things. But this is a big part of what we are doing. And my SOX rep was supposed to be here as well today, so I got kind of like thrown in to do it. I can pull up their website, but it's basically just their nature-based erosion control, and there's like dredge socks and fill socks. They've got a couple different ones. The ones we use here on your banks are the dredge socks. So, and I also, by the way, I have up here, and I can hand them out in a little bit. I've got like 20 or so of the actual socks material. Matter of fact, probably says it somewhere in there. Yeah, I mean, I've never thought about that. I think of socks as like, just stuffing a bunch of mud in a sock, kind of,
Maybe you can take that financial guy in the crowd.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Dulesky. I think this is great. I think this is absolutely needed. I'm looking out the window at the lagoon here, and you can see all the erosion just out the window. But it would be helpful, you said this Lagoon 14 is top priority. I don't know if that's a one-year project, a 6-month project. So I think it would be useful to understand this is the first 2 years, this is our next priority, so people can see the whole continuum of what's going to happen. Appreciate it may need to change if more erosion happens one place or the other, but I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, this project will start in 2024 and move into 2025. Then we'll have the next project 26 and 27. So we're looking at that. Yeah, we're in the process of further defining that, but it's going to be the priorities will be aesthetics and water management for the golf course and the most severe areas. Now, on this lagoon, because of the undercutting is so severe throughout the whole lagoon, we're going to do the whole lagoon. There are some lagoons where we only have to go in and do a portion of the lagoon. So we might be doing 2 or 3 lagoons on the next project, but that would be well communicated. Again, we'd have another coffee connection, but we're going to keep everybody up to speed on the priorities and how they unfold. Again, this is a multi-year engagement.
And I think Rusty told us that he could do about 80 feet per day. So this lagoon, I don't think it's on.
Yeah,
there's. You could do about 80 feet per day, roughly. And then, so this lagoon, 2,833 feet.
Yeah.
So, 80 feet a day, take 29 days to do that lagoon, give or take weather. So a month.
Yeah. So our constraint really is our funding levels, and we believe through the development of a strategic master plan, we've identified an appropriate amount of money to dedicate to this project each year. And it may vary a little up, a little down, but on average, it should come out to about $300,000 a year, $600,000 for a project.
If you look at all the total feet that I added up for all the lagoons, if you wanted to look at the Cat 4 erosion sites, there's 32,833 feet that needs repair. We have 71,300 linear feet, 32,833 needs some work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's being pessimistic in the, oh, let's fix that. But it's a multi-year project.
Okay. Oh, Jerry?
Jerry, as what you know now and what you have planned, from we start today, how long is the project?
It could be 10 to 12 years.
Okay.
And never
That's
really.
what you got planned already.
That's on the Cat 4. I mean, this is
Okay.
the dedication to maintaining these lagoons is going to be ongoing.
Fair enough. Right here, this is 14, yes? Correct. Are you replacing any of the bulkhead on this side?
The bulkhead's a separate golf course project on right down here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are I think 3 or 4 bulkhead projects that are in the strategic plan for 25 and 26. Although this became an emergency as it collapsed or moved away.
Okay. Okay, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Doug.
Maybe you could explain about the fact that the golf course side doesn't have much erosion because of the grass.
Yeah, that's a good point. What we're talking about is as I said, it's the resident-facing banks. You can see how and this is a great example right here, along the golf course. We don't have that kind of erosion because we've got heavy planting along all the banks of the golf course. Now, that's not what we like to see on the resident-facing banks. So we're really not talking about having to do hardly any work at all on the golf course side. I think there was, Rusty, down on number 2, the bunker on the left side that's collapsing. So there may be instances where there's some issue on the golf course, but that's golf and greens and working with Bobby Weed and that, but that's not part of the scope of this project.
That's right. And what we've noticed is that where there are bunkers that reach down right to the lagoon's edge, as you continue to fill those bunkers with sand, it runs off. And so there are like sandbars basically out there. And so one of the things we can do with our equipment is we can reharvest that material and give it back over to the golf course maintenance and reuse it. I mean, it's perfectly good material, but it is creating those sandbars kind of around there. But for the most part, it's not damaging anything.
Great. Okay. Well, we didn't quite make it to 2 hours. But again, thanks so much for you taking the time to be here today and to understanding how we plan to deal with one of our most important assets, and that's our lagoon system that ensures the integrity of another important asset, which is our golf course, and then the assets that all of us have, which are our homes. So thank you. We ask for your support of the referendum. As I said earlier, this is fully funded because of the support that y'all gave to the capital maintenance project budget. So if there are no other questions, you can expect to see some more literature about this later this week, early next week, and then, as I said, the referendum coming out 1st or 2nd of October, and hopefully be able to get underway shortly thereafter. And if you have any further questions, you can please route them to myself, Sermon, or through Long Cove, the Long Cove website, or Mario for sure. Okay, well, again, thanks very, very much.